It is the most popular quiz show in India. If you answer all the questions correctly in a row, you can get a bonus of 20 million. The boy in front of him has answered 6 questions correctly and won a bonus of 100,000. If he answers the 7th question correctly, the bonus will be upgraded to 10 million. However, the boy knows nothing about this question. It was halftime, and the host took the opportunity to go to the bathroom. Then the boy came in. The host suddenly said that he liked him very much and sincerely hoped that he could continue to answer correctly. As soon as he left, the boy noticed a capital B on the mirror. Obviously, the host was hinting that this was the answer. After the break, the two returned to the stage again. Under the dim lights, the host whispered, and when the lights came back on, there was a cheer from the audience. The audience had high expectations for this boy just because he was the first to pass question 7. But when he faced the previous question again, he did not directly choose answer B, but took advantage of an opportunity to filter out 2 wrong answers. Now he needs to choose between B and D. At this moment, the boy's brain began to work frantically, but he really didn't want to cheat. He really didn't know the answer to this question. After the host asked again and again, the boy finally chose D. After the host's repeated confirmation, he kept acquiescing. In the end, what he didn't expect was that D, which he chose to give up cheating, turned out to be the final answer. In this way, he advanced to the finals, and the prize for this round was 20 million. Although if he answered incorrectly, all the previous prizes would be lost, the boy still decided to participate in the finals the next day, and there seemed to be something inexplicable in his eyes. Then the host took him away, but he didn't expect that he would. As soon as he appeared on the show, people were blinded, just because they didn't believe that a poor boy from the slums could have such knowledge. It turned out that many people who participated in the show before, even professors, scholars, and scientists, could not answer so many questions correctly, so the program team determined that the boy cheated. But even under the torture of the police, he still refused to give in and insisted that he absolutely did not cheat. There was no other way, so the police had to turn on the playback and ask him to explain how he got the answers one by one. The first question of the show was who was the most popular movie actor in 1973. Xiao Shuai was very confident about this question because the actor was his idol and everything started from his childhood memories. He has lived in a dirty slum since he was a child, and he can't tell whether it is a garbage dump or a residential area. Although there is garbage everywhere, he and his brother Away are still lucky because they can go to school despite being poor. Although the teacher only has an elementary school diploma, he lives a fulfilling life. The two brothers even built a paid open-air toilet by the river. Because Xiao Shuai stayed in there for too long that day and delayed making money, his brother locked him in a rage. At this time, a plane flew over their heads, and the people on the plane were the stars of the most popular movie. After the children knew about it, they all ran over to ask for autographs. At this time, Xiao Shuai wanted to come out, but found that the door was blocked. At the same time, he also wanted to run over to ask for an autograph, but no matter how he shouted, no one came to open the door. He looked at the photo of his idol in his hand, and then at the pit under his feet. This was the only way out. In the end, he resolutely chose to jump down, and then immediately rushed into the crowd. Although he was covered in golden armor, he still struggled forward. The security guard smelled the stench and did not dare to stop him. In this way, he successfully approached his idol and became the only lucky person to get an autographed photo. At night, his mother washed him from head to toe 3 times, wishing she could rub out a layer of skin, but she still couldn't hide Xiao Shuai's excitement. However, his brother secretly took the autographed photo away and sold it to a boss at a high price. Faced with such a brother who loves money like his life, Xiao Shuai is helpless, so he will never forget the answer to this question in his life, that is, his idol Amitabh. When he came to the second question, there was a sentence under the Indian national emblem, "What can overcome everything?" There are 4 options: lies, money, fashion, truth, but face. Faced with such a simple free question, Xiao Shuai, who only has a primary school diploma, didn't know, so he chose to use the first opportunity to ask for help and got the answer from the audience. At this time, the sheriff questioned how he could answer these 7 questions if he didn't even know these common sense. Xiao Shuai asked him calmly, "How much is a plate of crispy balls on the street? Who stole the bicycle last week?" The sheriff was speechless, and Xiao Shuai told him that all the poor people on the street knew the answer. You don't know, it's just that you are different from others. Similarly, my ignorance is the same. Next comes the next question, which is related to religion. The question requires the male protagonist to answer, and Mo Luo holds something in his right hand and looks at the question. Xiao Shuai's thoughts can't help but go back to his childhood. At the same time, this is also a memory he doesn't want to face. That day, his mother washed clothes as usual, and he and his brother away played in the water. Suddenly, a group of thugs rushed over from the railway. They seemed to want to destroy everything here, smashing the surrounding objects crazily while running. Seeing this, the mother hurriedly told them to run, but unfortunately she was beaten to death by the thugs. Then, the brother ran all the way with Xiao Shuai, and the two kept shuttling through the alleys. No one knew where they ran to in the end, until they met a child who played Moro at a corner. Xiao Shuai was impressed by the child, who kept saying Amen Allah. He had a bow and arrow in his hand, so he naturally answered correctly. But ironically, the brothers found the police on duty, but instead of getting help, they were driven away. Soon, the show came to the fourth question: who wrote the song Embrace the Holy Light? The host was even sure that the illiterate Xiao Shuai could not answer the question, but he ignored Xiao Shuai's pitiful experience. Since the last riot, the two brothers have become orphans and their home has become a mess. It rained heavily that night, and the two brothers could only take shelter in an abandoned centralized box. At this time, another orphan girl stood in the rain. Xiao Shuai wanted to let him in, but his brother didn't want to cause trouble, so he turned over and lay down. After a long time, the girl was still outside. Xiao Shuai thought his brother was asleep, so he called the girl in. Her name was Xiaomai, and her parents also died in the riot. From then on, the three began a wandering life, looking for food in the garbage dump every day, and even set up a tent next to the garbage dump. The garbage that no one wanted was their hope for survival. That day, a man named Sangbia found them. He took away all the orphans nearby with just a bottle of soda, and all the children followed him. In a camp, there were many children who had the same experience as them. Sangbia was responsible for their food, clothing, housing and transportation. For a while, everyone regarded him as a saint. However, Sangbia adopted them not for charity, but to use them to beg for money, and even taught them to sing to gain sympathy. The song the children sang was his favorite, Embrace the Holy Light, but his brother Away was tone deaf, which made Sangbia look very ugly. But after seeing Away's ferocity, Cheng Yong thought he was someone who could help him, so he arranged him to supervise. Away did not disappoint Sangbia. His presence played a great deterrent role, and he also made trouble for Xiaomai from time to time. Xiaomai was so angry that she wanted to retaliate, so she secretly hid a handful of red peppers and stuffed them into Away's pants while he was sleeping. After a while, Away was awakened by the spicy taste. The hot feeling made him run to wash quickly. His embarrassing scene was seen by everyone, and Away was so angry that he said he would definitely retaliate. Day after day, Away quickly won Sangbia's trust, and that night, he also witnessed many cruel inside stories. Later, Sangbia asked him to bring his younger brother Xiao Shuai over. Away knew that he wanted to harm his younger brother, but he was still convinced by Sangbia's words. At this time, Xiao Shuai was still looking forward to his future with Xiaomai, and had no idea of his fate. He only fantasized about making a lot of money with Sangbia in the future. You and buddies, we are three musketeers. At this time, Away called him over, and he naively thought that he was going to sing. The eldest brother was very nervous along the way, and Xiaomai, who was worried, followed quietly behind him. When they sang Embrace the Holy Light, his subordinates signaled that they could start. Fortunately, the eldest brother found his conscience and immediately took his younger brother away from here. The two ran all the way to the train station, and at that moment, the train started to move slowly. The two worked together and climbed up. At the same time, Xiaomai followed. However, before she could get up, Away remembered the matter of chili and finally let go of her hand and threw her outside. Xiao Shuai called Xiaomai loudly. But at this moment, Xiaomai was caught by Sangbia. Faced with his brother who wanted to go back like crazy, Away tried his best to stop him, and finally the two of them wrestled together. Slowly, Xiao Shuai calmed down. Afterwards, his brother told him not to worry about Xiaomai, and lied that it was Xiaomai who let him go. So when facing the fourth question, who wrote this song, Xiao Shuai naturally thought of the song that Sang Biao taught him and finally chose this answer easily. At the same time, the sheriff who was listening to Xiao Shuai's story in the police station no longer cared whether he cheated or not, but asked about Xiao Mai's later situation, so Xiao Shuai began to talk about his later experience. After that, he and his brother lived on the train, and sometimes they would sell things to make some money. Compared with their previous life, it was not bad, but they were caught stealing again, and the brothers were finally kicked off the train, so they decided to settle down in the Taj Mahal. Here, the two of them still steal things from time to time and use small tricks to make some money. After getting the money, Xiao Shuai bought a camera and became a photographer and tour guide in the scenic area, leading Europeans and Americans who came here to travel around. Days passed, Xiao Shuai still couldn't forget Xiao Mai, so away had to go back with him to find her. The fifth question, who is the person on the 100 yuan bill? The host concluded that this poor boy from the slums must have never seen a $100 bill. After all, 8,000 rupees can be exchanged for $100. But to everyone's surprise, Xiao Shuai actually knew the answer to the question. The person on the bill was Benjamin Franklin, a founding father of the United States. Since Xiao Shuai became a tour guide, he has met many tourists from Europe and the United States. After seeing his miserable life, an American couple kindly gave him $100. When the two brothers returned to Sangbia to find Xiao Mai, they unexpectedly met their former friend. But he was now blind, and Xiao Shuai handed him the 100 yuan. After the boy smelled the smell, he was very suspicious of how he could have so much money, so he asked him who the person on the bill was. Xiao Shuai didn't know, so he described his appearance according to the appearance on the bill. After hearing this, the boy realized that he was not lying to him, so he told him that the person on the bill was Benjamin Franklin, and Xiao Shuai naturally gave such an answer. Then he asked where Xiao Mai was. Feng told him the name of a street. At night, the two brothers came to that street. There were many women soliciting customers on this street, and it was a red light district where local men sought pleasure. The two brothers finally saw Xiao Mai here. Now she was graceful and charming, and Xiao Shuai's eyes widened instantly. He rushed in angrily to take Xiao Mai away, but Sangbia blocked the door with his men. For a moment, the three of them were like lambs to be slaughtered, and could only watch Sangbia and others approach. Unexpectedly, the eldest brother suddenly took out a gun, and the people on the opposite side were shocked. Even Xiao Shuai was unaware. The angry eldest brother asked Sangbia to hand over all the money, but in order to prevent future troubles, the eldest brother still shot. The three of them then took advantage of the chaos to escape from the streets and found a deserted hotel, where they found a moment of peace. After drinking beer from somewhere, Awei left the hotel alone again, walked through the downtown area, and finally came to the territory of another gang. As soon as they met, he pulled out a gun and said that he had killed Sang Biao. The gangsters saw the potential of this boy. After all, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, so they took Awei in. On the other side, Xiao Shuai and Xiao Mai were complaining to each other, constantly talking about their experiences in the past few years. Their footprints were like the shadow of the moon, walking everywhere but leaving nothing behind. After a while, they were seen by someone. Awei came in angrily and left Xiao Mai alone. Xiao Shuai was so angry that he punched his brother. However, Awei did not fight back from beginning to end, but just pushed Xiao Shuai out of the door. Xiao Shuai knocked on the door with all his strength. "Shut up." The empty hotel was filled with the voices of the two people, and the two just stared at each other. At this time, Xiao Mai suddenly asked Awei to put away the gun and asked Xiao Shuai to leave quickly. Compared with the ending of Sangbia dying under the gun, he would rather be ruthlessly defiled. So when faced with the sixth question, who invented the revolver, Xiao Shuai gave the answer easily. A few years later, he joined a communications bureau as a handyman. For so many years, he had been looking for his brother and Xiao Mai. One day, an employee asked him to take over for a few minutes. Xiao Shuai immediately took this opportunity to find his brother's number in the database and then called him as a customer service representative to find out the other party's address, but he didn't expect that his brother recognized his voice as soon as he opened his mouth. He enthusiastically invited him out to meet, and the two met in an unfinished building. As soon as they met, Xiao Shuai beat him up. After the fight, the two finally calmed down. The elder brother is now living a good life and has become a rich man. However, Xiao Shuai doesn't care about these things. He just wants to know where Xiaomai is now, but his elder brother advises him to forget Xiaomai and takes him back to his home. While taking care of his younger brother, the elder brother will never let him get involved in gang fights. In order to see Xiaomai again, Xiao Shui begins to secretly follow his elder brother. Sure enough, Xiaomai was seen in the villa of the criminals and she recognized him at a glance through the fence. At this moment, Xiao Shui was very excited, as if his dark life was ignited again. Then, he sneaked into the villa as a dishwasher. After seeing the handsome guy in front of her, Xiaomai seemed to see hope. The two hugged each other tightly but could not make any sound. Xiao Shui saw the scar on her face and understood everything. He immediately offered to take her away. However, Xiaomai refused because she knew what would happen to the two if they were caught by the gangster boss. Xiao Shui stood there at a loss. At this time, the gangster boss came back. Under questioning, Xiao Shui lied that he was a dishwasher but was eventually driven out by the gangster boss. Before leaving, he told Xiaomai that he would wait for him at the train station at 5 o'clock every day. Xiaomai shook her head silently when she saw this. Xiao Shui, who refused to give up, would wait for him at the train station on time every day. Just when he was about to give up, he unexpectedly saw Xiaomai, whom he had been thinking about day and night. However, the gangster's men also caught up with him and the leader was his brother. Finally, Xiaomai was forcibly taken to the car. When Xiao Shui got off the car, it was too late. His brother had already left with Xiaomai. Xiao Shui confessed everything at the police station. After the police learned about his experience, they also understood that he did not cheat, so they allowed him to participate in the finals the next day. If he won, he could get a bonus of 20 million. Then the police asked him why he participated in the show. Xiao Shui said that he went to Xiaomai's villa again, but it was empty. Finally, he lost contact with Xiaomai again. Fortunately, he suddenly remembered the quiz show that Xiaomai loved to watch, so he signed up for the competition so that Xiaomai could contact him after watching it. Now, as he wished, the whole country knows about it, and all the news are reporting on this boy. In the warm-up match for the final the next day, Xiao Shui's reputation was even louder, and there was no doubt that Xiaomai was among them. At this time, Wei also found Xiaomai alone. He knew very well that his brother would not give up, and he was as persistent as a crazy iron plate to save you. Then he gave the car keys to Xiaomai and asked her to leave. Xiaomai came here to find her brother, worried that something might happen to Wei, but Wei didn't care at all, comforted him that he could handle everything, and gave him his mobile phone. In this way, Xiaomai escaped from here. At the same time, Xiao Shui also came to the last level to answer questions. At this time, Xiaomai's car was stuck in the middle of the road, and she was forced to go to the side of the road to watch the excitement. The host began to ask the last question: what are the names of the three protagonists in The Three Musketeers? When Xiao Shui was a child, he heard his teacher talk about this novel, but he became a homeless orphan before he finished listening, so he could only say two of the names and he didn't know the third one, so he chose to make the last call. He used up all the opportunities to ask for help, and the person he chose to ask for help was his brother, but after a long time, the call was not connected. At the same time, Xiaomai suddenly found that Wei's phone was in her car. At the last moment, he rushed back to the car and successfully answered the call. After hearing Xiaomai's voice, Xiao Shui immediately smiled and started the countdown in front of the host, and the two reported that they were safe. On the phone, Xiao Shui asked the question, and Xiaomai didn't know the answer. Facing this last question, Xiao Shui was not panicked at all, because for him, winning or losing was not important. As long as he could successfully contact Xiaomai, his goal would be achieved. So, after a little thought, he randomly guessed an option, and unexpectedly, he guessed it right. In an instant, the whole audience was boiling. At the same time, the brothers on the other side also chose to die with the criminals. This man, who seemed to love money like his life, finally used his life to protect his brother and fell asleep peacefully in a bathtub full of money. At this time, Xiao Shui also got the bonus of the show. After the show, Xiao Shui came to the train station again to wait, and Xiaomai also ran over, and finally the two lovers finally met. In an instant, countless tragic pasts flashed through Xiao Shui's mind, but these will also become the past, and happiness is his final destination. The movie is called Slumdog Millionaire.